Guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be reacting 3 creepy true horror stories animated by Wanzi Entertainment. Shout out to them. Make sure you go subscribe to them because I am taking this video and I am reacting to it on my channel. And also, make sure you like and subscribe if you want more content like this, and comment down below of any games. I will soon be recording I am planning a JGS video in the future. I am planning one right now. But anyways, if you want more content like this, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get on with the video.
I'm a young teenage girl, and this happened recently. I can still remember the image in my head, playing over and over again. I live in an apartment complex on the 3rd floor. I don't usually get visitors, and when I do, it's just my aunties and cousins coming over. On this particular day, I was lying on my bed, watching YouTube as usual. I don't have a phone anymore since it gave me a lot of trouble and then stopped working permanently. Anyway, after watching YouTube, I got up to greet my stepdad as he came home from work. After greeting him, I went back to my room where my brothers were on their bunk bed. I shared a room with them, so I never had privacy of my own. As I was looking around, my brother suddenly said he heard knocking on the door. It was dark out, and I didn't believe him at first. Since I hadn't heard it, I shrugged it off. But then, I heard the knock. My brother got up, but I told him to sit back down on the bed. I'm the oldest, and I didn't want my younger brothers opening doors for strangers. I walked up to the door. There was a chair right next to it. For some reason, I didn't want the person knocking to know anyone was home. So I didn't move the chair in front of the door to look through the peephole. Instead, I climbed onto the chair, leaning close, almost falling as I tilted my body to look. And that's when the fear hit me. I won't forget what I saw through the peephole. It was a masked man wearing a blue raincoat, almost like some kind of government worker. He was standing slightly slanted to the side, but what terrified me most was the gun. He held it right up to the peephole, almost as if he wanted whoever was looking to see it. Heart racing, I slowly stepped down from the chair. I slipped off my slides so they wouldn't make a sound. I turned to my brothers and gestured with my hand, shaping a gun, warning them to be silent. I quickly shut off all the lights and ran into my stepdad's room to tell him what I had just seen. What made it worse was that right before the man came, the electricity went out, and the internet too. That made it feel even scarier. My brothers ended up coming into my stepdad's room as well. We used the flashlight on his phone since the ceiling light in his room didn't work. The knocking continued. My stepdad wanted to check the peephole himself, but I wouldn't let him. I was too scared that even the slightest sound would give us away. We stayed in the room for over an hour. Eventually, it seemed like the man had left because we heard a little boy and his parents walking into their apartment on our floor. We could also hear kids playing downstairs on the 1st floor. That was when I finally called my mom and asked if we could go to my aunt's house. Without telling her what had happened, we left in a hurry. I never saw that man again, but the thought still terrifies me. What if I had let my brother open the door?
You know, that probably would have happened, or probably would have took him hostage.
I'm currently 28 years old, but this story happened when I was just 7, and I still remember it to this day. I used to go to a local park with some friends. We had been going there for almost 2 years. But over the last 5 months, I noticed something strange. Every single day, there was a short, fat, creepy old guy who would sit on a nearby bench. He'd just watch us and other kids for hours with this unsettling grin on his face. We stupidly went there without any parents or guardians, since the park was close to our house and our parents trusted us. This was back in 2003. And we were so young we didn't have phones to call for help. About 2 weeks after we started to feel uncomfortable with him watching us, he finally came over. It was just me and my 3 friends in the park that day. He walked up and asked us if we wanted to go to his house to play video games and check out his new dog. Since we were kids, we were foolish, and we agreed. It sounded fun, and for a moment we thought maybe he was just a kind guy after all, but we were very wrong. He said his house was about a 20-minute walk from the park, so the four of us walked with him. About 10 minutes into the walk, a cop car drove by and started to slow down. The passenger cop leaned out the window, staring at us. The man told us to walk faster, saying that way we'd get more time to play games and to see his dog before having to leave, so we picked up the pace. But then, the cop car suddenly made a U-turn, and a loud voice shouted,
"You there! Freeze! Put your hands on your head! You're under arrest!"
We froze, confused and scared. The man bolted, but because of his age and size, he didn't get far. One cop tackled him to the ground and cuffed him, while the other officer asked us if we were okay and what had happened. We told him everything. He nodded and said it was very lucky they drove by when they did. Another cop car was called to drive us home, while the first car took the man to the station. The police explained everything to our parents, and from that day forward, we were banned from going to that park. At the time, my parents thought I was too young to understand the details, but when I turned 13, they finally told me the truth. That man was a known sexual offender. He called what he did his hunting, and he did it at local parks. That revelation terrified me. I started thinking about what could have happened to me and my 3 friends if that cop car hadn't driven by and stopped him. And honestly, I don't even want the answer, because I already know what it would have been.
Deep into the thingy.
The police didn't share many details about his punishment, but my dad told me that one officer said the man would get at least 15 years in prison for his other crimes.
That's good. It's the last story already.
My name is Dhruv Prajapati, and I am from India. I'll tell you about an experience I had on Dumas Beach that still chills me to the bone.
Okay.
Dumas Beach in Surat has always been a place wrapped in mystery and dark rumors.
Yeah.
People say it's haunted, and over the years, countless stories have circulated about strange sounds, vanishing shadows, and eerie figures that wander the sands at night.
Eerie figures.
As curious as I am, I never really believed in any of it
Curious
until one
George.
night changed everything. It was a rare weekend night, and some friends and I decided to hang out on Dumas Beach after sunset. We'd heard the rumors,
Dumas
the
Beach.
tales of restless spirits, unexplained disappearances, and how people seemed to disappear into the mist along the shore. But we just laughed it off, convinced it was nothing but local folklore meant to keep people away after dark. As we walked along the beach, the only sounds were the waves crashing and our voices echoing strangely in the emptiness. Then, without warning, an icy gust of wind swept across the beach. It cut right through us, and we all felt the sudden chill. One of my friends even joked,
"Maybe it's one of the ghosts."
but the laughter faded when we heard it, a whisper, faint and breathless, like someone was speaking just behind us. We stopped, our senses on high alert, and looked around. There was no one. The beach was empty. I brushed it off, figuring it was just the wind, but something felt wrong. I remember hearing that the beach was once a Hindu burial ground, and that maybe, just maybe, the souls of those buried here hadn't yet found peace. As we walked further, my flashlight started flickering, and a thick, eerie mist began to roll in. It was denser than anything I'd ever seen. Just then, one of my friends gasped and pointed at the ground. There, right in front of us, were footprints, appearing in the sand as though someone invisible was walking straight toward us. Our nerves got the better of us, and one of my friends whispered,
"Let's get out of here."
I didn't need to be told twice, but something, maybe my curiosity or something else, held me back for just a moment longer. I looked down at the footprints moving closer, step by step, almost as if they had intent. And then, for just a brief second, I saw it, a shadow-like figure,
Oh,
its
heck
hollow
no.
eyes staring directly at me. The look in its eyes wasn't anger, it was something else, a mix of sorrow and warning. Heart racing, I stumbled
heck
back,
no.
and my friends and I broke into a run. As we sprinted back, I could hear faint whispers following us, growing louder. and footsteps closing in behind us. When we finally reached the entrance to the beach, where the glow of the streetlights met us, we dared to turn around. The mist had already thinned, and the beach looked silent, almost peaceful, as if nothing had ever happened. To this day, I have never gone back.
Oh crap. Okay.
Hi, my name is Emery, and I'm from Norway. I lived in a small town surrounded by forests and mist-covered hills. Winters were long, and the darkness seemed to seep into your bones. My best friend Nora lived just 3 houses down from me in an old, creaking house that had stood for generations. Her parents traveled a lot for work, so she spent most nights alone, but she never used to mind, until the voices started. She first told me about them one Friday night while we were doing homework in her bedroom. She looked pale, her eyes were sunken, and her fingers trembled. "They whisper at night, Emery," she said. "Behind the walls. They know my name." I laughed it off at first. I thought maybe she was dreaming or just trying to creep me out. But then I saw the way her hands shook when she turned off the lights and how she stared into the corners of the room like something was watching her. Over the next few weeks, Nora changed. She stopped coming to school. She looked thinner. Her texts became disturbing. Photos of scratches on her bedroom walls and scribbled notes she claimed were pushed through the cracks at night. One simply read, "We see you." Another said, "Stop looking." I wanted to help, but her parents weren't around and no one else seemed to care. One snowy night, I finally went over to her house. It was silent. No lights were on. Her bedroom door stood open, but Nora was gone. All that was left was a note on her pillow. "They're in the walls. They promised me peace." We filed a missing persons report. The search went on for days, then weeks. No trace of her was ever found. The police eventually called it a runaway case. They said she had snapped, but I knew she didn't. A few days later, I couldn't stop thinking about the voices, about the wall, so I went back. The air in her room felt cold, wrong. At first, the walls were completely silent. I pressed my ear against one. Nothing. Then, I heard it. Faint whispering. Not words, just breathing and movement, like something dragging its fingernails across the plaster. I broke into the wall. What I found still haunts me. Dozens of small paper notes were stuffed between the wooden beams. Some were old and yellowed. Others looked fresh. Some were written in Nora's handwriting, but others weren't. They were frantic, desperate. Some begged for help. Others were nothing but threats. And all around them were scratches, hundreds of them. Deep, erratic gouges carved into the wood, like someone had clawed at it trying to get out. One note still had fresh ink. It said, "You shouldn't be here, Emery." I ran. I swear something followed me home that night. In the silence, I hear breathing that isn't mine. Sometimes I wake up to find fresh scratches on my bedroom wall. Scratches I know weren't there the night before. Then, last night, I found a note under my bed. "She's not gone. She's waiting," it read. I froze. I knew I had to go back. But something inside me warned it was already too late. Still, I packed my things, ready to leave for good. I couldn't shake the feeling that Nora's voice was calling me, whispering from behind the wall. Before I left, I made one last stop at Nora's house.
I would do it,
My heart pounded in my chest as I walked into her bedroom. It looked exactly the same, except something was different. The walls were no longer empty. I pulled back the wallpaper and found what had been hidden behind it. It wasn't just paper notes anymore. It was Nora. She wasn't gone. She was inside the wall. Her body was twisted and contorted. Her eyes were wide open, frozen in terror. Her fingers were still scraping at the plaster, desperately trying to claw her way out. Her lips were blue, and clutched in one hand was a final note. They promised me peace, but I never asked for it. Emery, I am them now. As I stared into her lifeless eyes, I heard a voice whisper in my ear, but it wasn't Nora's, it was mine. You shouldn't be here, Anne-Marie.
It was kind of like the definition of what he caught.
Hello, Wansi. My name is Suvana, and
Whoa.
I'm in 7th grade. This happened a few weeks ago when I was with my friends. We
Okay.
live in a very quiet neighborhood. There's hardly
Jurassic
anything
voice change.
unusual. The biggest incident we've ever had is running out of nuggets at the McDonald's food court. The day started just like any other. It was Friday afternoon, and finally, the three of us could go out without our parents. We met at McDonald's around 3:30 p.m. I bought fries and a slushie. Indigo bought a box of 10 nuggets, with sweet and sour sauce, of course. And Annabelle bought an ice cream cone. We laughed and chatted about that silly TikTok trend while making plans to go shopping later. Just a short walk from McDonald's was a small shopping
Awkward
area
choices.
with a few shops, a drugstore,
Yeah,
and a
I'm
dollar
really
store
like
that
that
sold
shit.
all sorts of junk for very cheap. We didn't know it at the time, but someone was already watching us. As we left McDonald's and
person over
walked toward
there?
the shopping district, a man sitting on the sidewalk near a trash can caught our
Oh,
eye.
never mind.
At first, we didn't think much of it. He looked like a homeless person. He was wearing a huge, worn-out jacket, even though it was incredibly hot. But what really gave us the creeps was he wasn't begging. He wasn't asking for money either. He was just staring at us. I wasn't going to say anything, but Indigo leaned in and whispered, "Why is he staring at us like that?" Annabelle turned around and said, "Just ignore him." So we did. I quickened my pace. The man stood up. We arrived in the shopping district and, wanting to escape quickly, went into a dollar store. For a while, we wandered around the store, pretending to look at things. Indigo picked up a plastic knife model and joked, "If that pervert tries to do anything, I'll stab him." I laughed, but I was still nervous. I stepped out of the front of the store and peeked outside. The man was standing across the street, still staring at us. He didn't move, nor did he blink. It was as if he knew we were watching him, but didn't care. We tried to continue shopping as usual, but we all felt anxious, so we left the dollar store and went into the drugstore next door to buy drinks. From then on, things got worse. When we came back out, the man was gone. At first, I felt relieved. I thought he'd just gone somewhere. But then Indigo grabbed my arm. The man was standing across the square near the parking lot. He was still staring at us. He still hadn't said a word. And this time, he was smiling. Annabelle took out her phone and said, "I'm going to call Mom." But as soon as she unlocked it, the screen went off. It turned black, then blinked white, and just turned off. The battery had died. Indigo tried turning on her phone too, but there was no signal. I tried turning on my phone as well, but it was the same. No Wi-Fi, no reception. It felt like someone was interfering with our phones. Annabelle whispered in terror, "Why isn't it working? Why now of all times?" We decided to head back toward McDonald's. It was a bit more crowded and bustling there, but when we turned around, the man was gone again. We left the square and walked quickly onto the main road. We tried to act as if nothing was wrong, but our hearts were pounding. We kept looking back. Just then, Indigo took my hand and said, "Don't look back, just walk." Of course I looked back. He was behind us, much closer than before. I had absolutely no idea how he had come so fast. His gait was different from usual. It was choppy, and each step felt incredibly long. It looked as if his legs weren't moving properly. His smile bloomed even more broadly, a smile so exaggerated
Why you don't
that a
leave
normal person would never wear it.
You could do
Annabelle
anything.
whispered, "Run away." We ran away. We ran to the back of the shop. There was a small
Anything
alley
can
where
happen.
the staff went out to smoke or pick up
You give
deliveries.
someone
We
the
thought
wrong
we could
look
shake him
and they'll
off
get
if
the
we went
wrong
through that
idea.
alley. We hid behind a trash
Anything,
can
man.
and waited. It was quiet. No footsteps, no voices. There was nothing. Then a creaking sound was heard. A metal staff door slowly opened on its own. We thought it was the sound of the wind. Then I saw a hand brush against the doorframe. It was dirty and pale. with long fingernails, and his face peeked out from around the corner. He was grinning. We screamed. We ran at full speed down the alley, but every door was locked. The only door we could find was the back door of a dollar store. Miraculously, the door was open. We ran inside and slammed it shut. We arrived at the back storage room. Boxes were scattered everywhere, and fluorescent lights were flickering. Then we heard a sound. Knock, knock. It was a soft, slow knock. Open the door. The voice came from just outside the door. We didn't know what to do.
Yeah, no,
We felt
bro.
trapped. No phone, no adults, just boxes and terror. Then the knocking stopped,
ever,
and through
bro,
the tiny
stalker.
window in the door, we saw an eye. Not a
wrong
normal
idea.
eye. It was milky white, with no pupil, just swirling gray. They didn't look like human eyes at all. And he whispered, "I've been watching you guys since you were at McDonald's." We all froze and stepped back. Then he banged on the door. It rattled. "Open the door." He kept repeating. It felt like the door was going to break. Then suddenly, we heard footsteps. It was another voice. An employee came in from the front of the store. "Guys, what are you doing here?" We ran to him, sobbing, and told him everything. But when he opened the back door to check, there was no one there. There were no footprints, no man, not even a trace that he had been there. We called the police, but they couldn't find anything. The police said he was probably ill and told us not to go to public places. But we remember what we saw. The story ends here, but I want to tell you, if you're out with friends and feel someone staring at you, don't just think of them as weird people, because sometimes they might not just be looking at you, they're likely waiting.
He's not wrong.
It was late at night, one of those nights where the streets feel empty, almost dead. I was driving for Uber, hoping to make some quick cash. A ride request came in. Pickup not far from my house, destination not far either. Easy money, I thought. When I pulled up to the location, I immediately
$8.50.
noticed how wrong the street felt. It was too quiet. The air felt heavy. The only light came from a few faintly lit windows. Everything else was swallowed by darkness. I parked and texted the customer that I had arrived. While I waited, I stared at my phone to pass the time. That's when it hit me. A sharp, icy feeling crawled across the back of my neck. The feeling of being watched. Slowly, I turned toward the driver's side window. She was there. A woman standing perfectly still in the shadows, dressed entirely in black. The way she stood there, not moving, not speaking, just staring directly at me,
She looks like
made
she
my
had a
skin
bad
crawl. I rolled down my window.
Is this Uber?
She asked in a low, flat tone. I nodded. Yeah? My voice came out hesitant. She climbed into the back seat. The second the door closed, the smell hit me. Sharp, sour. The heavy stench of alcohol mixed with something rotten. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it felt, but in that moment, it reminded me of decay. I started the engine. She told me she needed to stop at a nearby hospital. I admitted I didn't know the way.
Don't worry,
She said.
I do.
As we drove, she started arguing with someone on her phone. Her words came fast and bitter, venom dripping from every sentence. Her voice would rise into a shrill scream, drop into silence, and then rise again. At one point, I asked for directions. Without even looking at me, she snapped.
I don't know the way.
I frowned. What do you mean? You just said you knew.
You're the Uber driver.
She hissed.
You should know.
Her voice was sharp, like broken glass. Then she went quiet and returned to arguing on the phone while that awful smell continued filling the car. Then, silence. The call ended. The car suddenly felt too quiet. I could hear the low rumble of the engine, the faint hiss of the air conditioning, even the sound of my own breathing. Then she spoke, but it didn't sound like her voice anymore. It sounded deeper, darker, like a growl that didn't belong in a human throat. The words came out slow.
I think
and
she's
deliberate.
crazy.
I am the devil. No one can see me.
What?
Every hair on my body stood up. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. My mind screamed, "No, no, this isn't real. This can't be real." Then she turned toward me.
I think I've seen you before.
She said,
I know this car. I've seen it before.
I had never seen her before in my life, but hearing those words in that voice felt wrong, like she was reaching into memories that weren't hers. I was terrified to tell her to get out. Something inside me kept warning me not to. Eventually, I spotted a restaurant and pulled into the parking lot. Trying to sound calm, I said, "I'm just gonna go buy something." She nodded without a word. I shut off the engine, stepped out, and closed the door behind me. The air outside felt like freedom, but my heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I asked someone nearby for help. A man agreed to walk over to my car. The moment she saw him, she slowly turned her head toward him and stared through the glass. Then she raised her hand and flipped me off. Something about that small, casual gesture made the whole situation feel even worse. That's when I called the police. While I waited, another vehicle pulled into the parking lot and parked beside mine. Without hesitation, she got out of my car and climbed into theirs like she'd been expecting them. I rushed toward the driver.
Be careful!
I warned him.
She's dangerous. She was saying crazy things to me.
Before I could finish, 2 men came running out toward me. Big men, heavy footsteps,
Oh, nah.
faces twisted with anger. "Who do you think called us? Are you calling her crazy?" One of them shouted. That's when it hit me. She knew them. They were together. I backed up but held my ground.
I called the police.
I warned.
Back off.
One of them stepped closer. His eyes locked onto mine. His voice was cold. "Listen, kid. If we ever see you again," he paused, "we'll kill you." I was only 20 years old, driving Uber to make some extra money, and suddenly I was staring death in the face. They left before the police arrived. When I returned to my car, the smell was still there. Thick, choking, impossible to ignore. The police finally showed up, and I explained everything. The smell, the strange things she said, the threats, but because nobody had physically harmed me, there wasn't much they could do. And that was it. That was the night.
Yeah, the one thing I wouldn't like is the fact that she's sitting on the seat exactly right behind me. I just like at any moment she could have she could have something in her pocket. She could slit my throat, or slit your throat, or have something like a belt or something, and use it to choke me out or something. Yeah, I don't like that. Anyways, guys, I think that's gonna be it for today, and yeah, I hope you like this video, and if you wanna see more like this, go and like and subscribe. Anyways, see you on the next one. Peace!